Welcome to the first episode of Office Notions. I'm your host, Jacob Sanders, a local realtor in Oregon. Today we're going to talk about plumbing issues and typical things that pop up during a home inspection, how to fix them. And today we have a very special guest, a local plumber, Brandon Froom.
Hi, I am Brandon Froom, as he says. I own my own company called Elemental Plumbing out of Milwaukee, Oregon. I've been a plumber for 18 years with the union, and I've done mainly commercial construction. Residential is, honestly, much easier than everything I've done. So the pipes are smaller and the fixes are simpler. So I'm here to answer a few questions on what can be done as preventative maintenance and what the most common types of issues are that I see on a regular basis. And back to you, Jacob.
All right, let's dive in. So I got a list of questions to ask you. The first one, let's go with, what are the most common issues you find during home inspections typically?
Well, I go through a checkoff list in a home inspection. A lot of the time, I'll find that people have a low flow rate due to old, corroded, restricted piping systems, maybe sediment that is clogging angle stop valves under sinks, sediment in old water heaters because people don't regularly change out their anode rod after it corrodes, which should be every 2 to 3 years that people swap those out. They prevent electrolysis in your water heater, so you can basically elongate the life of it. Some of the other issues would be leaky faucets, leaky stop valves that do not shut off all the way. Main lines, a lot of the time, may have damage due to basically compact dirt crushing pipes in the ground. And the list does go on. I can't ramble it all at once. And I guess the most common thing that I see would be people's toilets just constantly running. And that would have to do with an old flapper essentially not creating a seal.
An old flapper not creating a seal, you could say it's probably a pretty simple fix that a DIY person could do.
Absolutely. The amount of money that you'll save by paying a plumber to come and swap out a flapper for you is going to be tremendous, because the amount of gallons of water that you lose each day going towards your water bill every month, you're going to see that.
Okay. A strong, steady flapper is very important, you would say.
I would say they just need to be swapped out every 3 to 5 years. The seals they get old, they go bad.
Just like anything. Old flappers, old seals, old people. We all got the loose seals and
we haven't,
flappers.
We haven't replaced all of our products with things that water cannot break down. So anything that sits in a wet environment over time is going to lose its durability.
What are signs of water damage or leaks that might indicate a bigger plumbing issue?
If you start to notice some soft floors in your bathroom or near your kitchen, you can assume that there is a leak inside the wall potentially, and it's rotting out your subfloor. Or if you start to notice mold growing in the corners of walls in wet spots, you might see paint bubbling on walls, and you might start to smell something musty. It could be black mold inside your walls, and that is a sure tell sign of leaks.
Typically stagnant water without proper airflow will build up.
And if you wanted to double check something like that, maybe you're not seeing water come outside the walls, but you're seeing these issues. If you're to go into your basement or your crawl space and you're finding something dripping from above, or you see wet spots on your vapor barrier, moisture of any kind, you can definitely assess that you might need a plumber to come out and repair something for you.
Okay. Are there any specific red flags related to plumbing that might warrant further investigation?
Yeah, I mean, low water flow is a red flag in itself. Any issues? You might have, you can check your water meter when all your water is turned off in the house. Okay. And if you can see your dial spinning on your water meter, you know that you have a leak in your system.
Okay.
Well, that's a good thing to check.
How important would you say that upper drainage around the foundation of a home is?
Like a French drain, or you talking about sewage waste drainage?
Just like the grade of the land going away from the house.
Oh, I mean, it is definitely important that anything 3-inch waistline and below has to be a minimum of a 1/4 inch per foot in its gradient towards drainage. Otherwise, you create a stagnancy in your waistline, and that causes blockages.
Out of all the materials used in plumbing, what would you say is the strongest or the most durable, most versatile, however you want to?
And let's say the greatest value for product that you're getting. If we're talking water lines in any kind of a residential home, you're going to benefit the most out of the amount you spent off of PEX piping with, I would say PEX type A with the expansion rings, because there's less room for human error, and it's more durable in freezing conditions. When maybe you get an ice block start to expand in the pipe, it's not going to burst your pipe like it would in galvanized or copper or even PEX type D. But it does come down to the homeowner's opinions and choice. If they want something more beautiful in their home, they can buy whatever materials they want. You know, if they want swedge lock and stainless steel piping, they can do that, and it can be beautiful. You're not going to benefit anything. There's some stuff that's just more aesthetically pleasing, but the lifespan of most of these plumbing systems is virtually identical. Copper, if it's been soldered, you're subject to the copper joints actually having issues before the piping ever does. Like the copper may last 80 years, but a joint will last 50, essentially. And PEX piping is rated for 40 to 50 years with an average of 45 years lifespan, and that has to do with expansion and contraction over the years. And then it'll eventually develop some kind of a leak in one of the joints. Galvanized piping corrodes and rots out. It's an alloy that reacts to electrolysis and corrodes much quicker, and you start to get flow restriction and sediment from it breaking apart and ending up in stop valves.
So we talked about the best type or most bang for your buck, right?
Yeah.
What would you say is the worst that no one should use, or even that is not even allowed to be?
Anything that's not code compliant should definitely not be used. But for the things that are compliant, I would definitely steer away from installing galvanized or CPVC systems in your home for a number of reasons. Now, CPVC does have its main benefit of being a polyurethane that does not leach microplastics into your water supply. A lot of people do like that about it, but any kind of a freezing condition, let's say you didn't put a frost-proof hose spigot on, and the second anything freezes, that bursts, and now you've got a lot of water flowing into your crawl space or your basement.
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely, of the newer things that people commonly use, I'd steer clear of CPVC.
So to me, it sounds like the material of the pipe is very important, but would you say that the joints holding the pipes together might be more important?
What do you mean, like the type of material that's used for joints?
You said an expansion.
Expansion because of
An expansion joint, right? That's what you said prior.
So I was talking about PEX piping. PEX type A has an expansion ring that goes onto the pipe, and there is a PEX expansion tool. They can be electrically operated or manually, and you basically pump a little head that goes in the pipe and expands it open. So with that ring on there, it creates memory for the pipe, and you put that over a PEX joint, like a 90 or a coupling or even a plug. And the memory will cause it to crimp back down over that. So that is basically what creates your seal around your fitting.
Gotcha. What would you say are the typical costs associated with replacing old plumbing in a home?
Well, it depends on the size of the home, how much is being replaced. Are we cutting into walls and having to do repairs of sheetrock, cutting into cabinetry? It really has a large variance.
Let's say that it is in an easily accessible crawl space and kind of an idea of price per square foot.
You gotta go more by how many bathrooms and kitchens do we have, how many hose spigots, or let's say we're doing a 1 bedroom, 1 bath, and you've got 2 hose spigots, and then you got your kitchen.
You would say that it's not necessarily a price per square foot type of investment, it's more so the complexity of the whole job.
I would say it's more about the complexity. Even if you have great access, there's just man hours that go into it, along with the difference in material quantity that you're putting in.
Okay.
I mean, it can be anywhere from $5,000 for a repipe for a small place to 20 grand easily if it's a 5 bath. It can add up.
I'm not sure if this is something that you're really able to touch on, but I know the water lines, obviously they got to come from somewhere. I mean, sometimes it'll come from a well, but let's say it comes from the city. How would someone go about having that work done that is no longer on your property? Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, so technically in Oregon, the jurisdiction for plumbers is, it's either 2 feet outside the building or 5 feet outside the building. One of those two I'll have to double check. Plumber is still able to pull a permit to be able to do that.
Okay.
Let's say you've got a leak in your line, you're not sure where it is. You can have a directional drilling company come out from your water meter, just punch a hole straight through to where you're going to be going into your house, or to, let's say there's a shutoff valve right outside the house, and you'll basically make a new connection with the pipe that they've ran for you.
Okay.
And they cost anywhere from $1,500 to $2,500, sometimes more depending on the amount of distance that they have to travel. That is within the plumber's scope to be able to take care of that work.
Okay. Now, if someone were to get or see some sort of leak in their house and they're concerned, what would be the best method or the first thing that they should do to mitigate the water flow?
Well, find the nearest valve. If there's one in your house, to shut it off and you're able to follow that piping, great. Shut your valve off inside. If not, go out to your water meter. Open up the box. If you don't have one of those keys, just grab a wrench so you can shut your water meter off.
Okay.
And yeah, if you've got a major leak, call a plumber, call a professional.
Okay. Okay. So would you say that tree roots could affect plumbing?
Happens all the time.
What do you think would be a good way for a homeowner to prevent roots being an issue?
Don't plant trees that grow quickly, that have strong rooting systems that go outward.
Yeah.
If you're going to plant certain types of trees, make sure that the rooting systems go down rather than sprawl out.
Okay.
Don't go planting redwoods or large evergreens.
I know this is more of an arbor or an arborist question, so sorry to throw a curveball.
No, I mean, there's also one great thing is utilizing a PEX plumbing system too. They're not easily broken by roots if they're trying to kind of go around them.
Okay.
Like you had PVC. A lot of main lines are ran in just PVC. Those get broken by tree roots all the time.
So you would say that PEX has more flex.
PEX has more flex. Absolutely.
If it rhymes, it must be true. How often do you think homeowners should get plumbing inspections or preventative maintenance?
There are a handful of different types of appliances that need to be regularly maintenanced. And honestly, when an issue arises, have the plumber go through a full checklist throughout your home. Like, it's a practice I intend to implement, at least offer it as a service. Like, I can do a maintenance check on the rest of your plumbing if you're having me here to swap out a faucet, just as a courtesy, and give you any kind of details. Like a water heater, like I had mentioned, an anode rod needs to be swapped out every 2 to 3 years. It prevents sediment buildup if you do.
What are most common code violations that you see during home inspections or just your day-to-day jobs in homes?
Okay, code violations, improper supports. I mean, if it's an older home, a lot of newer codes set in place obviously don't require a homeowner to change their plumbing system to bring it up to code unless they're doing any kind of major change into the system. But then it needs to be brought up to code. But I've noticed that there's a lack of proper strapping, so a lot of stuff might have too much mobility within the system. Water hammer arresters don't seem to exist in areas where shutoff valves are. Code violations. Oh, yeah, here's one. So a lot of the time, people use certain unions, like I've seen steel unions go from brass to galvanized. And what you need is a dielectric union, which has rubberized grommets and two different materials, basically preventing electrolysis from causing early corrosion and malfunction of the piping system.
Okay.
Pretty common one.
I really appreciate you coming and joining the show. Once again, it's Brandon Froom with Elemental Plumbing. I will put the information for his company, contacts, and right around here. And so you can reach out to him if you got any plumbing needs in the general Portland area. This is
Office Notions. There we go.
Yes, Office
We're
Notions.
supposed to say it at the same time here. 1, 2, 3. Office Notions.